Right, I think we're ready to go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Happy Women's History Month. It's the last day. All of you ladies, females on the line who identify as female, happy Women's History Month to you. Thank you so much for joining us and allowing us or joining us for this amazing, impactful discussion that we're about to have with some dynamic panelists on the line. My name is Danielle Craig. I am your assistant director here in the Office of Urella, Undergraduate Research, Experiential Learning, and Honors. You should all know me because you get all my emails. Anyway, it's a pleasure to have you this Thursday morning. We also have Ms. Shonda Poe on the line, the director of our office. We'll allow her to say some words in the very end, but I am excited to get this session started. I want to introduce to you our Miss Honors, Shamaya Young. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to you, but she's going to be our moderator for today. So stay tuned. For all of our Hornets on the line, please make sure that you have your mics muted and that you stay until the very end of this session. Why? Because this session is sponsored by Ballentine Partners, and they have donated, you guys know we do gift cards, DoorDash gift cards, $25 each. And we have 10 to give to you. So if you joined our sessions before, we have the random raffle. So make sure that you're signed in. We're going to pick your names. I can't do it on the screen because we'll lose enough time, but we will have 10 of you to be able to get some DoorDash here soon. So we're going to get started. Shamaya, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you so much for leading this discussion to us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shamaya Young, as Ms. Craig said. I am currently serving as the Miss Honor Student Association. I'm a junior majoring in social work and a very proud honor student. So today we're going to get into introducing our panelists. So we will first like to start off with Miss Jennifer Murtie.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. So my name is Jennifer, and I work at Ballentine Partners. I lead our high net worth practice, and what that means is I lead a team of people who work with families, and we advise them on their investment portfolios. We do tax and estate planning. We help with retirement planning, insurance needs. Sort of the full range of wealth advisory services. I've been in this industry now for almost 25 years. I started my career out actually in the nonprofit sector, doing international economic development work in Africa, and shifted over to the financial sector. And I love the work that I do because I get to help people every single day. And I'm happy to be here to share some of the stories and things I've learned along the way. I've had a somewhat of a non-traditional career path within the industry. So hopefully some of those experiences are interesting and helpful to all of you. Just a couple more sort of personal points. So I grew up in Kenya. My parents were teachers, so they worked abroad. So I lived there for 18 years before moving to the US. And that has really shaped me as a person and how I interact with people and how I lead. I got my MBA, which I can also talk about the value of that and how that's helped my career. And I have a family. I have two young boys right now that are my lights and motivate me every single day. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have Miss Jackie Mulrooney. Okay, I think she may be having some technical difficulties, so we're going to come back to her, and we will have Miss Kasey Taylor.
So good morning, all, and thank you, Ms. Young. I want to start off by saying, for me, leadership is service. It's never about a position or title. As we lose ourselves in service to others, we discover our own lives and our own happiness. So I do want to say again, thank you to Ms. Craig and Ms. Poe, as well as the Planning Committee for your gracious offer afforded to allow me to speak and meet with you today. I'm honored to be a part of this session and to salute what we're now doing as far as change makers and managers across the United States, but more specifically looking at developing that excellent leadership and insight that now has been reflected in what we're seeing here in the state and nationally for our graduates here at Delaware State University. My name is Kasey Taylor, and I'm your state conservationist here in Delaware with the United States Department of Agriculture, Natural Resources Conservation Service. I'm deeply committed to service by ensuring equity within USDA, by removing barriers across our mission area and continuing to build a workforce more representative of America within the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I've been in my role for the last 9 years and been a part of this illustrious agency for the last 26 years. And through that, the one thing that has absolutely been what I would say my joy is really being able to engage and to mentor and to support and pay it forward. So building on the platform that we're using today, but then having those collaborative conversations going forward, whether if it's through manners, women in ag, whatever it may be, we really want to make sure that we continue to advocate for change and that your voice resounds and it matters. So I'm very excited to be a part of this discussion with my illustrious panelists, but more specifically to hear from you. Because remember, this session is about you. So we really want to dive into your questions, needs, and concerns, and being able to make sure that we are your advocates to help you get you where you aspire to be. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And now we will have Miss Jackie Mulrooney.
Hello, can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Yes, you can hear me. Okay, great. I'm Jackie Mulrooney. I founded JP Systems 38 years ago. We are a prime contractor to the federal government. We serve the Veterans Administration. We help move patient data internationally and between federal agencies and between providers. So we standardize patient data and we help the data move between the VA and the DoD. We oversee a network which has 1 billion records exchanged in one day, and we do network analysis, data architecture, a lot of stakeholder communications, and I'm a woman-owned business, certified woman WASB, and we have 80% of the women in my company are women, and we have a great crew, so I enjoy leading the company. Thanks.
Thank you all. So we're now going to move into our discussion portion where I'll be asking questions to our panelists. So the first question that we have is, what motivated you to step up and be a leader in your fields of work or organization? Anyone's willing to answer at any time.
Okay, I can start on that. I went through a difficult time when my mother died of, she became paralyzed and went into a nursing home and back and forth between nursing homes and hospitals, and her healthcare data did not follow her. So it was very sad trying to take care of a parent. It was a full-time job for my 2 sisters and I to track that medical data to make sure her prescriptions followed her, so that every time she had a new doctor, that medical data was available. It was not. So I decided I'm going to put forth some effort into making sure that medical data moves with patients. So that's my why. That's what I let motivate me every day. So thank you.
I'll go next. That's okay, Kasey. So I've had a lot of things that have motivated me, but I would say, in the last 25 years, when I shifted from the nonprofit sector to financial services, one of the drivers for me was that there weren't a lot of women in our portion of the financial industry, which is the wealth advisory space. And that was a huge motivator. I wanted to prove that women could be in that space and could rise to the top of it. And so that's what's driven me over the last many years, and it continues to do that.
And just adding to the excellent comments that have come back in from Jackie and Jennifer, that's going to be easy with the J's. My son's names are James and Jonathan. But with that, I really wanted to go in and to not only be able to create that space of innovation and to show, hey, here's what we can do when an opportunity is provided, but then also to start developing the conversation and changing the narrative at all levels across the agency. So really what inspired me to change or to move into the role for leadership was really my employees, my partners, my customers, and seeing that we needed to have representation at all various levels within our agency, and more specifically at our department. And being able to have it where people see themselves in service, they see themselves in the role, and that we're able to have this scripted conversation, but doing it where now it's very deliberate. So if we're seeing that we're not having individuals apply for these various positions, then we need to start growing our own. We need to start developing and working and partnering with our colleges and universities, with our high schools. So now, again, when we're going out, people need to see themselves at all various levels. To have our women and our women that are diverse coming into this space and conversation is really essential, especially in a predominantly male-dominated field that I'm in. But looking at that, and as we're making that turn and transition, it's absolutely inspiring to have it where we're not seeing so many first, we're seeing so many now that are coming in and building on the foundation that was now created years and years ago. So really for me, it's really coming in and saying, hey, I want us to be able to look at what is our most critical resource that we have in this agency, and I would say across the country, and that's our employees, it's our people. Giving that space back to them, so now they see opportunities where they hadn't even thought to dream, and now are challenged and encouraged to live outside their own expectations.
Thank you all. The next question is, what is one thing you wish you knew before starting on your journey?
I'll start. So there are a lot of things, but I think one thing that really bubbles to the top for me is the importance of networking and how critical it is. I think particularly for women, for some reason, there always seems to be a male network existing for them, even at a younger age. And so I would encourage all of you to, which you're probably already doing, at university, but building a network of people, reaching out, making introductions, it pays off along the way. There are people that I've reconnected with that I met, 30 years ago, and those relationships are still there. And now we're helping each other do things that we weren't able to do when we were early in our careers. So I would say that is something to really hone in on as you continue to think about what you want to do, and meet as many people in that space and build a reputation for yourself. Reputation is everything when it comes to opportunities for career growth, whether that's within your existing organization or whether you're looking outside of that. So having that reputation and a network that supports that is critical.
I agree. I echo everything that Jennifer has said. If I could just expand on that importance of that mentoring and coaching, it really becomes prolific. And it's not because those individuals are they're insightful because they've learned. They've learned through those teachable moments, as well as now being able to share that forward. So really gain and glean within those conversations, but make sure that you're having mentors and coaches at all various levels, not just simply where you are, but one that now will challenge you to get outside of your comfort zone and pushing you to where you aspire to be. You also want to make sure that you have an accountability coach within yourself. And what do I mean by that? It's easy now to get into the position that you say, I've been building my career to go to. And once you get there, now you become complacent. So what you have to do is to keep coming back in and nudging and asking the hard questions. Am I affecting change? Am I seeing the results? Am I at a point now where this vision is being led forward, not only because of my mandate, but because people now see themselves in perspective within that goal and within that intent? And then also allow yourself to really come back in and be vulnerable. And by being vulnerable, it's now being able to say, I do need help, and doing it in a way that is trusted and supported, and now that will be validated. And so with that, I would say, going back and looking at myself back then, I would say, be brave. Your voice matters. You're here because people trust and respect you, but then you're also going to be an advocate for the individual coming behind you or walking in parallel step with you. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Taylor. I do echo that sentiment about courage and being brave. And what was important is that I learned to make decisions and trust my decisions and not do a lot of internal thrashing, which just wastes time and energy. So go with your instincts. If you've done your research, go with your good instincts of your path ahead, and trust that you're making the right decision. Don't keep questioning yourself.
Thank you. Piggybacking off of what Ms. Taylor said about teachable moments, what mistakes have you made along the way, and how did you turn those into learning experiences?
I had one incident where I was working for a client. It was the Navy, and I thought I had a strange idea of what a leader was. I thought they were just assertive and told everybody what to do, and it ended up coming off as very pushy. And I think I turned everybody on that project against me, and it was not a recoverable error. So I learned to be collaborative. I learned to get rid of this idea of a leader that I had that was just dictatorial. And you make mistakes, you find out what works for you, what style leadership works for you. You establish an identity as a leader, and that takes time. It's a process. So, that pushy mode did not work for me at all. So.
So I've made many mistakes in my career, and I always look at those as learning experiences, and they've made me better. I love Jackie's example. I mean, we've all done things like that where we look back and you don't do them again. So, testing things out, taking risks is all worth it. But I would say the biggest mistake I think about is when I was promoted into a C-suite position. It was in another C-suite position, but this was a slight promotion, and I was asked to take on a role of being a COO of a company. And it wasn't an ideal fit. I knew I could do the job, but I wasn't really excited about it. But I did it because I knew it was the best thing for the company. It's what they needed. I knew I could do it. But 3 years in, I wasn't happy. And I knew I wouldn't have been. I knew 3 years prior I wasn't going to be happy, but I did it. So I guess I would say what I learned from that is life is really too short to do a job that you're not happy in. And there are many opportunities, and really value yourself and know yourself. And I did know, but I did it anyway. So I've never done that again. And I've always been very careful since to take on opportunities that I know that I'm going to enjoy and I'm going to be happy at, and that I can grow in. So.
Jennifer, you're so prolific, both you and Jackie. I agree with you. And it's interesting when you shared that the first thing that went through my thoughts was, to thine own self be true. And for me, I recognize that I am a recovering perfectionist. I say that because I'm a work in art, and I'm still being developed, because yes, I am very much still a perfectionist. I want to be able to change the narrative, move these conversations, and get everything kind of in a plug and play in a perfect world. But by doing so, I will oftentimes overcommit and pull in multiple projects and tasks. And it's not because I don't trust my team. My team is dynamic. I am blessed with the best team I've ever had the privilege of working with across my professional career. But at the same time, because now we have multi-projects that are moving within the state, there are things that now I've pulled within myself. And then I'm also pulled across our national leadership for various projects that we're doing at a departmental level. And the concern that I had was, how are you going to get all of this done without dropping something? And as the music kept going higher and higher and higher, and you can see the plate spinning, and it's like, okay, essentially something is going to have to fall. And then I said, no, nothing is going to hit the ground. And what I'll do is I will not impact my family, because I've worked too hard to have my family and making sure that we're sustained. But then I compromise my own self. So my health, my well-being. So where my family would go to sleep, then I would get up and do round two. And you finish everything out. You get all the emails pushed out, you get the work done, and then you're crawling back in bed 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. You have a feeling of success, but knowing that that is not sustainable long term. And then what I started seeing was that the impacts were happening within my health. right? So all of a sudden now things that were no longer an issue become more of an issue. So what I learned from that was it's great to be able to say, yes, I will be able to prioritize things. I will take on additional projects, but there's power in saying no. And that no does not have to come back in and be an end. You're now coming in and clarifying, absolutely, I would love to do that. I'm fully subscribed right now, but I am available on this date and time. Okay, so I'm telling you no, but I'm giving you a solution and I'm showing how I'm going to be committed. And by doing that, it empowered me and I feel so much more in control. So now where I say I'm a recovering perfectionist, the old perfectionist would have been like, what are you saying? No, we can do everything. Now I'm saying I can, but in this space and this time. So I just add that as food for thought because I get it. There's so many things that we absolutely aspire to do within our work and our school and our personal lives and our professional lives. But remember, you work for your family, you work for you. And if you are not in a space where you are healthy, both mentally and physically and emotionally, then what's it for? Because at the end of the day, if something goes awry, they will put someone in to replace you because that's the necessity of what the role is that you occupy. So I'll just stop there.
Thank you. If I can add, no is a complete sentence.
Thank you all. That can segue actually into our next question is how do you advocate for yourself respectfully and professionally?
I am lucky enough to be the they in my world since I own the company. I control 58% of it, so they is me. And I set it up that way. I decided instead of climbing a corporate ladder, I'd build my own ladder. You know, it's a lot easier to get to the top when you start there. I had to build the organization below me, but I started as the president of my own company. And now we have almost 50 employees now. So it's a fun crew. But anyway, thanks.
You know, I think it's a very good question because whenever I'm thinking advocacy, it's really now saying I'm knowledgeable, I'm informed, I'm in a position to affect change, but knowing that I'm creating a space for those who are very much, I would say, vulnerable and needing to have that support. So for me, the one thing that I try to do is to make sure that we have a space across every single section and spot within our agency, and more specifically here in the state. For me, and forgive me, I'm going to pull it back into my current structure. What we've tried to do is to develop out an employee advisory committee. It's led by our employees. They have a conversation directly with me and say, you know, this is what we see real time that is helping us. These are some teachable moments, and this is where we absolutely have to go back, rescope the conversation, and re-envision what we're doing within our service delivery model to make sure we're able to achieve our objectives. And then from there, again, it's now where we can come in and say, well, hey, folks, this is what we're seeing real time. Is this truly your need? So I believe in that you have to be able to, one, empower the employees to let them know that you are the reason why we're here. You're my most critical resource. So I have to give you a space, and that space has to be prominent. But then two, we really want to come back in and say, let's survey, let's take this back to you before we start building into a project. I think the worst thing we can do is to now go in and take a snapshot and an estimate of what now has come back in from our employees, from our partners, and now say that this is the definitive goal. We have to come back and say, is this truly going to help us meet our need and intent? If the answer is yes, then we build our project, we scoped out that timeline, and we continue to engage our employees as we're moving throughout the process. So the main thing is, I would say, like Jackie said, for the individuals who are in positions of change, recognize that the change has to be in you and reflected through all of your employees. Dare to be brave and create that space. If you're only listening to a select few, that's not enough. You have to open it up to every single business owner, every single employee, participant, because those are going to be the individuals who will affect your bottom line. So I'll just pause there.
So I would just add around sort of the advocacy piece. I see it two ways. So you know, throughout your career, you have to advocate for yourself. But I like how Kasey put that. You're very much also advocating for the people that work for you or with you. And I have found that as a female leader, when we advocate for ourselves, we're setting an example. We're showing younger women that it's okay to speak up. It's okay to demand things. It's okay to say what you need. And I'm sure you've learned in school or read in studies about, particularly around salary negotiations. Historically, women don't ask for enough. We undervalue what we are worth. And there have been so many studies where they've polled men and women, oh, what have you gone in and asked for? And by far men are asking for, they shoot for the moon. And they take the chance. And, women are like, I don't want to ask for too much because they might say no. Well, that's okay. Like they may say no, but you're going to get closer to what you want if you aim really high. So, that's one of the things I've shared with and advocated for with teammates and people that have worked for me. Just the importance of, doing it in a kind and thoughtful way. You can't be obnoxious. You're not going to get anything if you're obnoxious about it. And so that means building strong relationships, and it means being true to yourself, but in a really respectful way. And that's worked really well for me. I've managed to sort of negotiate, promotions. I've managed to negotiate getting a project done, getting resources that I need, by having those strong relationships and doing it in a kind, thoughtful way, but like holding firm. So not being soft, but being kind.
Could I add one thing to that? When you're advocating, make sure you're aligning what you're asking for to the goals and mission of your organization, because this is where we're going. Just say, I need this resource because we're going here. I need this budget because we have this to do. And of course, when you're speaking, always use the acronym THINK. Is it thoughtful? Is it honest? Is it intelligent? Is it necessary? And is it kind? I try to use that filter, but again, when you're asking for stuff, not for yourself, you're asking for your role. You're asking for the mission and the goals to be accomplished. And then how can they say no if you're going for their goals? So.
Thank you. As we know that the workforce can be a male-dominated industry, I wanted to know, do you experience resistance when leading men?
So I brought this up earlier, so I'll start. I actually have not. I've been really fortunate to work with some incredible men. What I do get is a stronger, more forceful sort of pushback. So I don't have trouble managing them. But again, if they feel strongly about something, they will be a lot more aggressive about letting you know what they want than I've seen with women. So it requires a slight adjustment sort of in a leadership and management style to manage those conversations, to allow them to have a voice and to help move them along with you, even if the answer may ultimately be no for what they're asking for. But I haven't found, significant resistance, like an outright, oh, I'm not going to respect you or work for you because you're a woman. I've been fortunate enough not to experience that. I know women have, but I haven't. So.
Yeah, I want to branch off on that because Jennifer and I are very much in that same space. Now, I started by sharing that, yes, I am the very heavily dominated male profession. When we start looking at the Natural Resources Conservation Service, right now, when we see our leadership levels, there are 12 to 13 women state conservationists, so myself included. Within our senior executives, we have 2. But then when we start looking at the diversification within our women in leadership, this is where we see that we do have some teachable moments and next steps that are desperately needed. But looking at that, I would say as you go into various levels, from when I was a district conservationist at the field office level to our area level and then up and above, you will see a little bit more of that resistance or now a challenge to make sure from your technical insight and your knowledge to your expertise and how are you directing this versus not. So that really allowed me to make sure that how I lead, how I was leading with intent was tied very much, like Jackie said, back to our mission. This way, it can never be perceived as a personal bias. It's very derivative and driven and focused in on our technical expertise, how we're now going in and improve our processes and timelines, and making sure that our employees are knowledgeable, they're insightful, and they're engaged. When you bring it into that format, there's no argument, because now how do you argue against our mission and our intent? It may be a challenge within the timelines, but then we sit and we talk. So as long as we create a space that's collaborative, I think that becomes the larger issue, is when it's dictatorial and it's not collaborative. This is where you'll have the pushback. So I would say I've been very blessed across my course of career, both with women and leaders, but to see the women who are changing these conversations in the agency, it's interesting that people want and they're asking for more women mentors than I've seen in the past, because they're saying, I love your leadership style. I love how you're engaging. I love how you're doing this. And when we do have to make a decision, it's where it's no apology. This is a timeline. Let's go. Are there questions? So I would say, again, collaborative versus dictatorial is always great. When you do need to make the decision, make sure it's tied into the rationale that Jackie said for science and your mission, your goal and the intent, but letting them know that there is a space for feedback as we continue to come back in and move forward.
I have run into resistance all my life. This has been 43 years out in a male-dominated field of computer science. And my solution was to do my job with such excellence that they came to respect me. And that is called, you're creating credibility. So because I was a consultant very soon after I graduated from college, I think I started consulting after 4 years out of college. My main goal when I walked into a place was to create credibility. I can do this job, I can do it faster, and I can do it well. And after a while, they come to respect that. When you're the one turning in 5 times as much work as the guy next to you, the people in charge will notice. I guarantee they will notice that. Now, why do we women have to be hyper competent to get accepted? I don't know. I can't change other people. I can't change other people's expectations. So I have to manage the expectations of my clients by producing on time and within budget. So, and then I have people telling me I can't do things. When I was 24, I bought an airplane. That's kind of unusual. I had people tell me, you can't do that. Well, I did. I bought my own Cessna 210. I've done a lot of things that other people thought could not be done. And now I just say, ha, ha, ha. And I just go ahead and do it. So, and now if I get resistance, someone thinks a woman can't do something, well, they don't last at my company very long, do they? You know, so they talk to HR, they talk to contracts, and out they go. They're out the door if they're not producing and not collaborating. So I'm in a very different position now. I have choices. It's wonderful. I have choices.
Thank you all for those amazing perspectives. So we're running into our last question of the discussion portion, which is, what piece of advice would you offer the next generation of female leaders?
I think one of the most important things is what comes out of your mouth matters. When you speak things into existence because it's a miniature goal setting process. When you're speaking, you're actually setting goals. If you say, oh, things are crazy at work, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what we're going to do, we have a deadline, you just spoke into existence that your job is crazy. Do you really want that? No. Speak, my job is going along fine. It is well organized. We have a plan. We have a schedule. We're executing according to schedule. Speak what you want, not what you don't want. Very important what you say. So if you want your schedule to be organized and tick along like a nice clock, say my schedule's organized. My day is going well. I'm able to organize and execute my plan. Speak what you want.
I'll go next, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Sorry. Gosh, Jackie, can I come work for you? You're amazing.
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't want to leave my agency, but I want to be mentored by you. I'm sorry. She's amazing. I would say everything that Jackie has said, but in addition to that, allow yourself to be brave. Write down your goals and start, and within that goal, there should be something that challenges you, if not daily, then monthly. An assignment, a task, being able to start looking at things from a new perspective and insight, as well as now a personal goal that you're striving to achieve. And by doing so, this will now again keep you sharp, keep you current, keep you engaged, but keep you looking forward. I think sometimes, again, we go into an area of this is what I aspired for, and now we're there, and you're very close to becoming complacent. So within this, it's now saying, what is it that I'm going to do to keep myself, again, competitive, keep myself knowledgeable, keep myself insightful. So now as I'm able to motivate my team and to attract new and future thinkers, I'm doing it in a way that will be drawn upon my own experience and insight, but then at the same time, again, not getting it to where you're overly comfortable within your day-to-day roles. So again, be brave, look outside of yourself, and again, make sure that you're engaging those mentors and career coaches to keep you moving forward within your plan for accountability.
Yeah, I love what Kasey and Jackie said. I completely agree with both of those. So I guess I would leave you with, I recently read a Harvard Business Review report on traits that make the most successful leaders. And on one hand, it surprised me. On the other, I was like, well, of course, but it's not what you hear typically what you need to be. So I just thought I'd share with you, there are 5 things. I'll run through it quickly. So the first is motivate through transformation, which means that, so women are more likely to lead through inspiration, transforming people's attitudes and beliefs, and aligning people with meaning and purpose, rather than the sort of carrot and stick approach. So motivate through transformation. Put your people ahead of yourself, right? It's really hard to turn a group of people into a high-performing team when the main focus is on yourself, right? But that's what you often hear, like particularly with some male leaders, that's what they've done to be successful. But that's not what really works. Don't command, empathize. So, throughout history, we've been told that women, are too kind or caring to be leaders, right? But the notion that someone who's not kind and caring can lead effectively is at odds with reality, right? I mean, you've just heard us all talk about today how important those traits are. The fourth one is focus on elevating others, right? So it's similar to putting people ahead of yourself. But one of the things that I have found in my career, and that this study really resonated with, is when you make people you elevate people on your team and you recognize accomplishments and growth, it transforms the organization, and you have people who they stick with you longer, are more productive, they're happier employees. And then the last one, the fifth thing, is be humble. So we've been asking, what really makes me laugh is we've been asking for humble leaders for, decades, right? We're like, we need humble leaders. Why is everyone such a narcissist? But we keep gravitating towards these overconfident, narcissistic, generally not female leaders, right? And, there's well-established gender differences around humility, and they tend to favor women. Of course, not all women are humble. I'm not suggesting that. And not all men are not humble. I'm not suggesting that. But it does tend to be a feminine trait. And it is essential to being a great leader. So I leave you with those sort of 5 things to think about.
Thank you so much for that discussion portion. I definitely learned a lot and have been very inspired. So we will now move on to our Q&A from the audience. So all of my fellow Hornets and anybody else on the call, please do either unmute yourself to ask our amazing panelists a question, or leave it in the chat and I will ask them. So while we are getting those in, I actually have a question. So I know for myself, I kind of struggle with feeling like maybe I'm not as competent in what I'm trying to do. So have any of you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you kind of get out of that?
Kasey, were you going to say something? I had one thought on that.
I am, and I'm just trying to think of how to phrase this a little bit better. But go ahead, Jennifer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit with how to phrase it too. I don't know that I've sort of felt that full imposter syndrome, and maybe it's because I've always told myself I have more to learn. Like, I don't always know everything. So yeah, do I sometimes take on a job when I don't completely know how to do it? Yes, but very early on in my career, someone had shared with me a study, you may have all heard about it, where they monitored how women and men reacted to opportunities. And men could have like the skills, like 5% of the skill set needed to do the job. Like, oh, I got this. Yeah, I'm in. And women could have like 95% of the skill set. And they doubt themselves because they're not 100% confident they can do the job. And so someone shared that with me when I was like 22, and it stuck with me. And so I've always said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to not be overconfident, but I'm going to say, I'm going to take a chance. I think I can learn this. I think I can do it, even though I don't 100% know how to do the job right now. And so that's just like resonated with me. So I don't feel like I've ever fully fallen into the syndrome. I've just always told myself, I can do it and I can learn. So I don't know if that's helpful, but
that is helpful. Faith in yourself is a powerful force. I don't always know the path ahead when we do stuff, but that's where your value comes in. Moving ahead when you don't know every step ahead of you. You can see the next 3 steps. You don't have to see the next mile. You know, you can take 2 steps. It's like walking with a flashlight as opposed to walking in daylight. When you're walking with the flashlight, you know the next 3 steps. You know you're smart enough to figure out the rest of the steps, okay? We don't have to have it all the ducks in a row before we, start quacking. So, but it's fear of failure. I made a long study of the different types of fear. Fear of failure. Some people are actually afraid of success. I made a study of the different types of fears that affected someone's career. And after hearing them again and again, I just sort of sorted it all out in my head that, bet on yourself, bet for yourself. If you're not going to bet for yourself, go stock shelves at a superstore, but you're smarter than that. If you're at this university, you're a lot smarter than that, and you can do a lot more than you think. So give yourself credit. Give yourself credit.
Yeah, well said, Jackie. Well said, Jennifer. For me, it's always foundational. And I go back to, forgive me, guys, I have to quote scripture just for 1 second. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me.
Yes.
And that became my foundation. And so I knew that I wasn't going to know everything, but that's the goal in leadership, is not to know everything. It's now to be able to say, I'm going to take the information that I received this briefing and through this question and inquiry to now go in and to say, let's build a solution that now will help us meet our goals and our intent. There are going to be certain things you're going to be very knowledgeable on, and that's what's going to empower you on those other areas where you still are learning. But the thing that we have to remind ourselves is what we shared just a few seconds ago. You won't know everything, and it's not your charge to do that. It's really now building a team that will have a little bit more insight and knowledge and engagement when you start getting into either technical areas, administrative areas, human capacity, whatever it may be, and having them now come in and together you carve out that solution. So I would say when you use the imposter syndrome, be cautious with that, because you're probably discrediting yourself way too much. And in fact, really coming in and saying, I'm now giving credence to what others' fears may be, regardless of your gender. It may be an age issue, okay? Or it could be a regional issue. Biases come in so many different areas. So we have to be cognizant of that. I know when I came into my agency, it was, well, she doesn't have the farming background. Well, you don't have to have that farming background. If you're impassioned, you're going to do the work.
That's right.
If you just sit on your laurels and say, yeah, you're right, I don't, but I can tell you how to administer a program. So now you do the work and you learn. And that's the thing that, again, Jennifer and Jackie have said, be committed to doing the extra work, knowing that it's going to take you outside of those core hours, but again, not getting it to where it's detrimental for you long term.
Thank you. So we do have a question in the chat. Have you ever felt like what you were doing didn't align with your true purpose? If so, what did you do?
I would start and say, yes. Sometimes you may see my goals and values are this, but for this project or for what we have to do, it's a little bit different and it deviates. So does it mean that you now not respond to it? No, but if it's broad enough that you can take it and customize it to add it into your service delivery model to meet those needs and intents, I think the cautionary note is that it's not about yourself. When you come into this position and enroll, yourself goes to the back. It's in service to others.
That's it.
So it's not about that. Your fulfillment has to come in how we're being able to carve out the goals, the expectations, and roles and responsibilities that will now support and direct the employees to meet the intent. So usually it's not that you disagree with the project. It may be something specific within that project, the timelines, the individuals that are assigned, the training or the lack of engagement, whatever it may be. But I would say it's not taking it to your own personal belief system versus what is the objectives. And then from there, now you'll be able to find your purpose because you're going back in and aligning that with the goals of employee development and motivation, training, mentoring, feedback, partnership engagement, whatever it may be. But that's the cautionary note that I would add. Try not to have it where this aligns with my personal beliefs and ideals versus what my professional roles and responsibilities may be. Sometimes those two don't live within the same space, but they can over time, depending on how that project is developed. But I'll pause there.
Could you please repeat the question? I'm afraid I lost access to the chat somehow.
Yes. So the question is, have you ever felt like what you were doing didn't align with your true purpose? If so, what did you do?
So I have a couple thoughts on that. I'm trying to think how to articulate this clearly. So a short answer is I left a job once because sort of where the company was going, it was not a scenario like Kasey described where it was something you could, work with. There were sort of the company values were shifting and it didn't align with how I wanted to spend my time. And so I left the company. That being said, I think, maybe, looking for a company where the culture of that company and the values and what is important to that company, how they treat their employees, how they interact with the community in which they work. There's lots of, the work they do with clients, whether it's sort of an individualistic culture, whether it's a collaborative culture, you really need to dive deep on those questions when you're looking at jobs, because you want to make sure you're at a place where you're going to thrive. And not that there aren't going to be differences that you have to reconcile. Of course, nothing is perfect, but it needs to be close enough to what's important to you or you'll be miserable and it won't work. It won't work.
I've had a lot of consulting assignments in my time, usually like 3 to 6 months to a year. So I kept moving between clients. I've had over 300 clients over the years. So I wasn't really concerned about my purpose. I was concerned about their needs. Really, it's all about what the client needs. When you're a consultant, you change assignments, you change jobs, you change clients. I wasn't looking at what I wanted. I was looking at what they needed and what I was contractually obligated to do. So it's not always about me and my purpose. It's about the country. I've done a lot of consulting for government agencies. It's about what is going to serve America best. What is going to serve all hundreds of millions of us? What about the purpose of the country? What about the freedoms we have here? What are we doing for our country and how can we serve it better? So it's really that became my purpose because I changed assignments a lot. So there wasn't time to worry about my purpose. My purpose was serving the client. So, but if something really wasn't right, if there was something unethical going on, then I do need to get out of there because I can't be a part of something that's illegal or fattening or anything like that. So immoral, illegal, or fattening, I'm out of there. So thanks.
Thank you. So our Q&A portion is over, and I will now open the floor to our panelists to give us some of their closing nuggets.
Okay, well, as far as perceptions go about leadership, one of the big factors that keeps people from moving ahead is their perception that there is a glass ceiling. There is not. There is not a glass ceiling. There are only missions and goals and budgets and resources. So if you're worried about hitting a glass ceiling in an organization, again, focus on the mission. Why is that place there? Get the mission statement before you interview with someone. Know that mission statement. Is this something that interests you? And the bigger the corporation, the more general that mission statement is going to be. But just know that there is not a glass ceiling. There are only people that need jobs done. And we need you graduates. We need you students. We need you. We need your energy. You're important to us. So when you go out to interview, be confident. You know, you are needed. Otherwise, they wouldn't spend the money to bring you on board. So you're important. We need someone to come in behind us and take what we've accomplished and take it, take it the next 10 miles, take it the next 1,000 light years. So know that you're important, that your career is going to matter, and you are valued. And just find that match of being valued with your employer out there.
Yeah, so I had similar thoughts to that, Jackie. I would add, be you, be genuine. When you're not, people notice, and you're not going to be successful, and you're not going to be happy. So embrace who you are, embrace the skills and the talents that you have. And as Jackie said, sort of find a place where that's a good fit, and stay true to yourself as you move through your career. And there will be challenges, but it is far more rewarding when you hold to your values and you stay true to who you are and you don't compromise. So.
Well said, ladies. I'm going to read a quote because it's just kind of sticking in my mind. I'll pull this over so it doesn't look like I'm looking in two different screens. Dr. Maya Angelou stated that if you're going to live, leave them. Like if you're going to live, one more time. Dr. Maya, one more time, guys. Sorry, tongue-tied. Dr. Maya Angelou stated that if you're going to live, leave a legacy. Make a mark on the world that cannot be erased. It would be easy to look back on your past achievements and recognition and say, hey, we've done well within our lives. But the real question should be, have we done enough good? It is through this that, again, you're not going to simply settle for doing well. You're going to challenge yourself to move beyond those expectations. So one last thing, guys, one of my favorite poems. I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon me, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. Just a tiny minute, but eternity is in it. And that's by Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. The question I think we've all been asking is, what would you do with 1 minute? What would you do with the information that's been shared with you today? Are you going to be able to take that and make that indelible mark? You already have the foundation there at Delaware State University. Now being able to be brave, step out, not in your comfort zone, but in something that's going to challenge you. It may come and say, well, it doesn't align with my moral values, but what Jackie said, it's not illegal, immoral, or unethical. It will absolutely challenge you and grow you, but not break you. So thank you guys. It's been such an exciting conversation, and I'm just very honored to be a part of today's panel.
Thank you all so much for being with us. And now I will turn it over to Ms. Danielle Craig.
All right, thank you so much. I want to say that panel discussion was amazing. I'm gonna have to go back because I was trying to pick our winners, but and like really dig through. But there was something, and I don't know who said it, but it said, I think it was Jackie. Speak what you want, not what you don't want. And so I've heard it before, speak things into existence, but that's also in our career paths, in our occupations, all aspects of life. And I have to work on that, guys. So I hope that you were able to obtain some nuggets as well. Thank you to our panelists. You are amazing. I appreciate the time that you have sown into us here at DSU. We do have some names. You guys know, listen, I'm all about the incentives, right? So we thank Ballentine Partners for sponsoring this session for us. They have provided us with 10 $25 DoorDash gift cards that I can't use. And so I'm going to share my screen. I already did the raffle. You guys will be able to see the wheel and then our winners. So I want to thank and please forgive me if I pronounce your names wrong. I do apologize in advance. Wajiku, we just talked about it earlier, so you corrected me. So Aaron, Dallas, Tia, Jalira, Aaron, Imani, Nyla, Brooke, and Delaney. You guys are all winners of the DoorDash gift cards for $25, again, sponsored by Ballentine Partners. And what you're going to do is I have your emails. I'm going to email you and make sure that you connect with me. Now, listen, I'm going to be on campus tomorrow. And so try to get to me tomorrow because then I'm going for a conference. So you won't be able to get them until the end of next week, right? And I know you're hungry right now. So make sure that you come to my office tomorrow. You will get your email today. I want to thank Shamaya. Thank you so much, Mrs. Honors, for leading this discussion and being our moderator. You did an amazing job. So thank you so much. And I'm going to let Mrs. Shauna Poe, Director of Urella, have our last words.
Thank you very much, Ms. Craig. Thank you, Ms. Honors, Ms. Shamaya Young. We could always depend on you. You're such a leader. I'm so proud of you. And you look terrific in your honors program golf shirt. So let's give applause for that. Yay. Fantastic job. To our panelists, I'm like Shamaya. I'm inspired. I'm ready. I was tired, but I'm awake now and I'm pumped. And thank you for influencing us with your inspiration. Some of the nuggets I took away was how you can correct your leadership style, being honest about that, also to advocate for yourself and others, and especially the power in saying no. Thanks, Kasey, for that. I tell you, because we really have to understand that what our limitations are. It doesn't mean that we're weak, but it just means you have to be smart about it and have that balance. And Miss Mulrooney, when you said you purchased that airplane, okay, you're my shero, because when I look up in the sky and I see your plane flying over, that inspired me. I said, I'm going to buy a plane just like Miss Mulrooney too. Why not? So thank you for teaching us that the impossible is possible. So I want to thank each and every one of you for surrounding us, for inspiring our students, and to know that you're always reaching out to be able to give us such inspirational sayings and teachings. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It's always glad to have you here at the Hornet Nation, even if we are virtual. So we just appreciate you. Many blessings upon each and every one of your lives and your families. So I'll turn it back over to Ms. Craig. To our scholars that are out there, thanks for joining us. I see Ms. Martha Wilson and others. Thank you so much for joining us. Ms. Craig, you have the floor.
All right. Lastly, you have your Urella scholarships that are you can apply by tomorrow at 11:59. 5 different scholarships, $5,000. Please apply. Please apply. The link is in the chat. I'm not going to close this out. Come back, download the link, get the information, apply. And then up in the chat, a couple more spaces up is our feedback survey. Please make sure you complete that so we can continue to bring amazing topics and sessions for you. Thank you again. Have a great Thursday and happy Women's Month. Bye.